Good morning and happy holidays, everyone. It is just a couple of days after Christmas. I hope that you all had a wonderful Christmas, happy Hanukkah, Merry whatever it is that you celebrate. I hope that you had a wonderful time. I had a very beautiful, pleasant, peaceful Christmas with my family down in Orange County, California. We had some weather come through. I'm sure that most of you have seen it on the news. We had an atmospheric river come through. Some places saw major flooding. The mountains here in the Sierra, I'm back here at headquarters, got dumped on. Mammoth Lakes got absolutely dumped on, which we need the snow, so that's a good thing. But yeah, definitely some areas saw some damage from flooding. The Wrightwood area, which the PCT goes right through, the Pacific Crest Trail, they had some major flooding and some homes were just destroyed, unfortunately. Luckily, everybody in my family was okay. We didn't have any damage, any injuries. We got through it all. We have a beautiful sunny day today. Christmas is officially over and we are headed to New Year's Eve. It's just a couple days away, so we're going to be in the new year, 2026. It's hard to believe 2025 is already over. It seems like it went by in a flash. This video is going to be a little bit of a wrap up of 2025, some of my favorite moments, etc. I'm going to do a bit of a Q&A, and then I want to talk about the plans that I have for next year. So it's going to be a little bit of a mixed bag. We are officially in winter. Winter's always kind of a difficult time for folks that live on the road, and it was a struggle for me for many years being on the road, and that's one of the reasons I did want to get a home base. A big reason actually was someplace to have to go during the winter months, because I was never able to park with family. Nobody has that type of a situation where I could park my rig, and it was always a struggle to find some place to go. But having said that, I will be traveling during the winter, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit. I wanted to start off by sharing some of my favorite moments of 2025, some of my hardest moments of 2025, my favorite camps, and we'll just start there before we start talking about the new year. I thought I'd start off by talking about some of my backpacking trips, and fun fact, backpacking videos are my favorite type of video to film. I feel like you just kind of know what's going to happen day to day. You're going to get up, you're going to walk, and the adventure just unfolds in front of you. Whereas if I'm doing a camping type adventure, or, traveling from one place to the other, there's a little bit more planning involved. I have to think about where I want to visit on each given day and that sort of thing. Whereas I feel like with the backpacking trips, they just unfold right in front of you. You wake up each day and start walking, and you never know what's going to happen. I would say my very favorite backpacking trip of 2025 was in Glacier National Park. It was the first time I had returned to backpack since 2018. I'd visited the park many times, but I had not backpacked there since 2018. And we went in the early season. I was with Joey Coconato of My Own Frontier. And we backpacked the Belly River area because it was one of the only areas that you could get into that early in the season. So what was a very awesome plus about that is that a couple of the camps were still in winter status, and that meant that only one group was allowed to camp there at a time, whereas normally these are very busy campgrounds. So we had two very, very popular camps entirely to ourselves, and we were able to choose both of those camps for 2 nights. Normally there's a 1-night maximum. So we camped at Elizabeth Lake, and then we camped at Helen Lake, and then we moved on to one more lake before ending the trip. But we had those 2 lakes entirely to ourselves, which was awesome. For 2 nights, we were able to really relax and enjoy the experience. Glacier National Park to me is still probably the most beautiful national park that I have ever been to, in my opinion. So it was really exciting to be back there, and it was an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous trip. We saw lots of wildlife. We saw a moose that came almost right to our tent at Helen Lake. We saw it actually swim across the entirety of Helen Lake, which was an awesome experience. We, at Elizabeth Lake, saw several bald eagles, or maybe it was just one that called it home, and so we saw it many times. We saw a black bear. It was just quiet, peaceful, and it was just a unique experience, feeling like we had the park to ourselves. That is a trip that's going to stay with me for a very long time. It's probably one of my favorite all-time trips, not just of 2025. I did a couple of pretty difficult backpacking trips, and that one was not one of them. That one was relatively easy. We didn't have really difficult terrain to traverse. However, there was a trip in Canada that I did, the only backpacking trip I did in Canada this year, and it took us from Jasper National Park into the White Goat Wilderness, and that trip was so difficult, probably one of the hardest trips I've done. We were off trail a lot of the time, most of the time. When we were on trail, the trail was not good trail. It was either very rocky, we had downed trees to contend with, we dealt with some rain. It was incredibly difficult. I will say though, beyond it being incredibly difficult, it was so beautiful. I always love backpacking in Canada just because it is so beautiful. During the trip, of course, it's kind of type 2 type fun. You have to embrace the suck, and you're, wondering when it's going to all be over. But then after it's all done, you're super glad, or I was super glad that I did it. I was super glad to have accomplished it. And it is just such a unique experience. And although it was so hard, I don't regret it at all. It was so beautiful, and yeah, very, very, very difficult. I think the trip that surprised me the most was backpacking the Eagle Cap Wilderness. I did that one with the Reeves, Kim and Stephen Reeves. And we had tried to put together a trip for that area a couple years prior, but we either had wildfires or there was something preventing us from doing it. So we finally were able to do it in 2025. And I was blown away at how beautiful that area of Oregon is. It was so stunning. It reminded me a lot of the Eastern Sierra here. And I just had no idea that areas that beautiful, mountainous areas that beautiful existed in Oregon. We camped by gorgeous lakes every night, and my favorite camp there was at Glacier Lake. I'm not sure if that's the official name of the lake, but that's what we were calling it. We had a beautiful camp there. Oh my gosh, it was just stunning. Our view outside of our tent was gorgeous, and just the whole trip was absolutely beautiful. It was just jaw-dropping beauty the entire way. In terms of just living and camping out of the truck, which I mostly traveled out of this year, I would say that my favorite just camps, car camps, were the first one being the Sawtooth Wilderness. We were down the Yankee Fork Road, and you can find campsites in very remote locations way down that road. So we found a campsite right along the creek, and it was just so beautiful, so peaceful. You just feel like you're in the mountains. It just feels like probably what the cowboys did years ago. And it was just incredible. We had a little bit of weather. It was still pretty early in the season, so it was kind of chilly. It was pretty quiet in that area because it was early in the season. That was just before we headed over to Glacier National Park to do that backpacking trip. And it was just so gorgeous. I love that area. I love the area of the Sawtooths in Idaho. We had the unexpected surprise of meeting the Moores from More to Life Outdoors, Moore. You can check out their channel on YouTube, and it was really awesome to meet them. And it was just such a pleasant experience. I'd say another favorite camp that I camped at in 2025, which I also camped at in 2024, was the Snaring River Camp up in Canada in Jasper National Park. It is a campground that runs right along the Snaring River, and we were able to snag a spot on the river. So you have this little beach right in front of your camp all to yourselves, and it's fairly private there, the way that campsites are set up. And it's obviously the Canadian Rockies, so it's so beautiful. It's very close to the town of Jasper, and we were able to visit Jasper after the devastating fires from the previous year. And luckily, the town is bouncing back, and there is a large enough portion of the town that was unaffected that they can still accommodate tourists. And it was sad, but yet we were also very happy to see that they are bouncing back. And I just love that camp. It's just so beautiful. I camped at so many amazing camps. It's very difficult to choose from. We camped in the Bears Ears area of Utah, which was beautiful. The Escalante area of Utah, which is so beautiful. I am so fortunate to say that most of the places that I visit on a yearly basis are beautiful, stunningly beautiful places. The awesome thing is that I get to share it all with you. So that's the extra added benefit of it all. As I was sipping on my AG1 this morning, I was thinking about the many, many years that I used to try to get on multivitamins daily. I would get that big plastic bottle that was made for women. You all know what I'm talking about. And I would swear that I was going to take that every day. And it would last about a week. The bottle would eventually expire and I'd throw it away. And then maybe several months down the road, I would try it again. It never worked. The only thing that has worked for me, and it has for over 6 years now, is taking my AG1 daily. AG1 is a daily healthy drink habit, and I think that the reason that I'm able to stick to it is because it is a drink. I have a routine every morning. I drink my water, I drink my coffee, and I drink my AG1. And I'm telling you, that has worked for me. AG1 Next Gen contains more vitamins and minerals than ever before, and it is clinically shown to fill common nutrient gaps. The pre and probiotics in AG1 also support gut health and digestion, and I don't start the day without it. As we approach the new year, it is never too early to take control of your health. It's never too late. Why not start now? AG1 is seriously the easiest thing that you can do for your health. Start 2026 off right by ordering some AG1. You can click the link in the description below or scan the QR code here. And right now they are having their best offer ever for just a few more days through the end of 2025. When you first subscribe, you will get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3K2, a morning person hat. You'll get to try the 3 new flavors of AG1, and you'll get to try their new sleep supplement, AGZ, which is a $126 value, all for free when you first subscribe. Cheers to AG1 for sponsoring this video. Now back to the show. This year was a little bit different because I did have a home base where I live out of my trailer, and I traveled out of my truck the entire year, except for here at the end. I took my trailer out for a couple of adventures. So I did have this place to come back to kind of in between expeditions. But truth that being told, I have always come back to the Sierra several times throughout the year, and it's really not that much different. If you go back and look at the prior years, since I've been on the road, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, I always come to the Sierra several times a year. So that's really nothing new, except that I have a place that I can camp at and stay at. That's just built into the whole process now. So for the next segment of this video, I wanted to take a few of your questions. I put a call out for some questions, so thank you to everyone who submitted one. And the first one I'm going to take is from Vic Saul. He asked if I had ever visited West Texas or if I ever had plans to. Back in 2021, I did a trip from the west coast of California all the way to Florida to visit my sister who lives in the Gulf area of Florida, the Panhandle. So I did go through Texas. On the way there, I just did a quick pass through. I stayed in near Dallas Fort Worth with my good friend Coach, which I haven't seen in a long time. Hi, Coach, if you're watching this. I had planned to spend more time there on the way back, but unfortunately there was a huge storm. There was a major ice storm, and Texas was hit hard. They lost power in a lot of places for days and days. And I was actually stuck in Mississippi for several days at a campground there because it just wasn't a safe time to travel. So on the way back through Texas, I did stop in Texas Hill Country and I had a camp there, but I did not, unfortunately, get to spend as much time in Texas than I would have liked to. I have a lot of people suggest going to the Big Bend National Park in the wintertime because I guess that's a good place to visit during the winter. So I would like to eventually do that. Patty Ellen asks if I've ever arrived to a campsite or when I've been backpacking, ever felt very uncomfortable or felt like something was off and made the decision to leave. And luckily I can say that that has not come up. I think it only has come up once where I felt kind of a weird vibe and it didn't feel good, so I did leave. But I feel very fortunate that I have not had any experiences other than the one time like that. I tend to make sure that I'm camping in hopefully safe areas. I utilize apps like Campendium to try to find camping where I can look at reviews and what have you. And I have some idea of what my destination will be like. I've been very grateful that I haven't had bad experiences, knock on wood. And I know that some people have had some scary experiences out there, and I feel like, mostly everybody I've met on the road has been very friendly, very nice. I've met a lot of viewers out there. So I'm happy to report that other than that one time, which I can't even really remember the specifics of, I have had generally mostly all good experiences on the road. I've got some notes here, so you might see me reading the notes for the questions. Peggy R. asks, do you go to restaurants alone? If you do, how do you get past the uneasy feeling? I do, actually, and I've traveled alone for many years. Prior to even hitting the road full time, I lived alone for many, many years. And I didn't let that stop me from going out and enjoying a meal. It was awkward when I first started to do it, but then it just became easier and easier, and I didn't feel uncomfortable at all. So once I hit the road, I was really used to spending a lot of time alone, and that's what made it a little bit easier for me. I just feel like the more you do it, the easier it becomes and the more at ease you become with it. Wild Mountain Media asks if I use my solar system for power when I'm off-grid, and I absolutely do. I have, I think, about 620 watts of solar on the roof. I have two 400 milliamp hour lithium batteries and a 2000 watt Renogy inverter. So I'm pretty well set for living off grid in my trailer. I have mostly, or I did mostly when I was traveling mostly in this trailer, camp at off-grid areas where I wasn't plugged in. This solar system works phenomenal. If I'm in a place like Utah where it's very sunny most of the time, I've never really had power issues. If it rains for consecutive days, or there was a time or a couple times when I was in some, forested area where there were a lot of trees, where then I'd really have to watch my power. But if I'm in an area that's sunny, this thing works like a charm. In fact, I'm currently plugged into power, and I was thinking when these storms came through that we may lose power, but fortunately, if we did, I would be set up at least for a day or two without any sun, with my solar to go ahead and power this place up. Martha Braddis 8873 asks, have you thought about putting some of your beautiful nature photos in an ebook or hardback? I have actually. I've been thinking about that recently. I've been talking to my family, and they've been kind of encouraging me to do that. My brother in particular, and my mother. So I've been thinking more about doing that. I do have a website which has an art store that has a lot of my photographs, or not nearly as many as I need to add to it. I could add a whole other library at this point, which I need to take some time to do. But on my website, you are able to purchase either, prints in various mediums. You can buy metal, canvas, framed. I do also offer merchandise with my images on them, but I would like to maybe expand upon that and maybe offer a book or a calendar every year or something like that. But in the meantime, if you want to go ahead and visit my website and check out some of my prints, that would be awesome. When you're a one-woman show, it just feels like there's not enough hours in the day to do everything that you'd like to do, but I'd like to make that happen. Abby Keffer asks, what aspect of your lifestyle brings you the most peace? And I would say being in nature. The beautiful scenery that surrounds me, the fact that I can get to locations that are not crowded, that are very sparsely populated, where I have lots of space around me. I've become very claustrophobic now that I have lived this lifestyle of being in large cities, being in traffic. In fact, I hit a lot of traffic going down to my mom's place, and I didn't handle it very well because I'm so used to being in such wide open spaces. And I love waking up and seeing the sunrise. I'm an early riser. I love seeing the sunsets, seeing wildlife and birds, and just paying attention and having the time to pay attention to the beauty around me. So for so many years, I was in corporate America and just did the same thing every day, got up, took a shower, drove half an hour to work and worked all day, drove half an hour back home, and I just didn't have the time to really enjoy my life. Really, it just seems like, you grow up, you work, and then unfortunately by the time you retire, it's, you're potentially too old to live that type of lifestyle. So I'm just grateful that I was able to make this happen, and I don't want to have any regrets when I leave this earth. So I would just say, yeah, being in the peace of nature brings me peace. John Wilson asked, how do I know what the weight is of my backpack, and how do I determine the weight? And I would say that I've got it pretty dialed in with my gear. I don't change out my gear very often. I have a fairly light backpack, so I'm usually in the area of between 25 and 30 pounds. It really depends on how many days I'll be out, because the more time that you're out, the more food that you have to carry. So, obviously it's on the higher end of that number if I have a multi-day trip. At the longest trip I've ever done is 7 days. So I was probably somewhere around 33, 34 pounds at that point with all the extra food that I needed. But yeah, I try to keep it in that area. I usually tend to carry the same types of foods every time. So that is a somewhat comfortable weight for me. Some people can handle, heavier packs, but I think for me to be somewhat comfortable on the trail, that is probably my higher end of what I'd ever want to be, was about 33 to 34 pounds. Grant Bent asked, do you feel your channel is representing more of an Eastern Sierra resident than a van life drifter now that your trailer has landed in Lone Pine or in the Eastern Sierra? I actually don't, because as I mentioned earlier, I always came back to the Sierra. If you really go back and look at my videos throughout the entirety of the time that I've been on the road, as I said earlier, I've always come back here. I might be spending slightly more time here now, but I don't think it's a whole lot. And I always did come back to California over the holidays. I think I might have spent a little bit more time here this year than in prior years, but I definitely do not plan to quit traveling. I will still continue to travel. Traveling's in my blood. I get itchy. I get itchy to be on the move after a certain period of time. And even when I'm here in the Sierra, it becomes time to go and to get on the road and to explore new places and see new things. So that's just in me. And I don't think that's going to be going away anytime soon. I always get a lot of questions about traveling to the East Coast or the Northeast or visiting the AT or the Adirondacks and whether I'm going to do that or not. And I think that I eventually will. I just have not made plans to do it yet. It's so hard for me to tear myself away from the Rockies and the mountains of the West because they're just so majestic. I like big mountains, big peaks. I like very dramatic and majestic mountains. So I guess it's just been hard for me to take the time to go over and check out that area, but I do want to, and I know that I probably won't regret it. I've seen some videos where it looks absolutely beautiful, the greenery and the trees and the forests and everything looks so gorgeous. So I probably eventually will. I just don't have a set plan to do that as of yet. And I think that brings me to my last question, and that's going to lead me into my plans for 2026. I had several questions asking me about what my plans are for 2026, and I'll go ahead and read this one aloud. This one is from Stan Logan. Are you considering a drive on the Alaska Highway, adventures in the Tongass National Forest? That would be a monumental trip. Well, that is on the agenda, and this is where I announce my plans for 2026, at least part of them. I plan to finally head to Alaska in 2026. I've mentioned it many times on the channel and it hasn't happened as of yet, but 2026 is the year. I'm super excited. I have never been to Alaska. So this is going to be an all new experience. You're going to be seeing it new through my eyes for the first time, and I couldn't be more excited. I would love to get some suggestions from you all. I know some of my viewers and my patrons over at Silver Vagabonds, you can check out their channel on YouTube, have been there, and I'm sure they have a lot of suggestions for me, but I am open to any suggestions that you all might have. I know that there is a lot of free camping there, so that's going to be awesome, and I am super, super stoked for that. As far as the rig that I'm going to take to Alaska, I don't know yet because I still haven't made a decision on a new rig. So I don't think that it will be this trailer, but you never know. I'm still considering what to do with this. It could be a pop-up truck camper. And in terms of the rigs, I know that I had mentioned potentially a van, but I think I've kind of taken that off the table only because I don't want to get rid of my truck. So if I got a van, it would be an additional vehicle. I'd have to get something older, and I could just see that that would end up being problems, probably repairs and maintenance and things like that. I'd have to get insurance. Whereas if I get some sort of a truck camper, that doesn't require additional insurance. It doesn't have to be registered, so that would save me a lot of money. So we'll see how that all plays out, but Alaska is going to happen regardless of what type of rig I'm in. We're going to make it happen. In terms of before Alaska, I do have some travel plans there. I will be getting on the road here in January. So I'll be out on another expedition, which I'll save that as a surprise. But yeah, we'll continue to keep traveling. I am not going to be sitting in one place. It is the holidays, so It's been nice to be home. I've enjoyed it, and that was one of the whole reasons of getting a home base, is that I can take some time off the road, but I'm definitely going to want to get back on the road. I hope you all are excited for the upcoming plans. I want to thank you all so much for your support in 2025 and all the years prior. Thank you to all the new people who have come on board, and welcome. I appreciate you all so much. I'm looking so forward to a new year. I hope that you are too. What are your big plans for 2026? Go ahead and drop those in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you all have planned for the new year. You know, there would be no channel without all of you. I want you to all know that I appreciate you, your views, your comments, your shares, your likes, your hype. I appreciate you all so much for being here. This was just a casual kind of year-end wrap-up video, and I'm going to wrap it up right now. So cheers to the new year, and I will see you all on the next adventure. See you soon, everybody. Bye-bye.